Welcome back to another episode of Widow Talk, though tonight it's Widower Talk. Real conversations about the stuff people just don't talk about. My name is Lauren Leslie Carr, and I've been widowed for 9 years. And tonight I have the pleasure of having a beer and a chat to Alex Betts. Cheers, Alex. Thank you for joining me. So Alex lost his beautiful wife, Emily, over a year ago now. His wife of 3 years to bowel cancer in September last year. Alex is from Melbourne, so that means he spent a good chunk of his first year of widowhood in lockdown. We know what a tough year that was for people in Melbourne without throwing widowhood into the mix. So we're very interested to hear about what that was like for Alex. But before we do, Alex, please tell us about Emily and your life together.
We met in 2013 on RSVP. So one of those, we never sent it in, but we could have been with that picture that you'd see on the online dating site. But, it was before it was the norm, really, like it is now. And it was really, really funny when we met. It actually turned out we could play 6 degrees of separation. That I knew people that she knew people that I knew, and it just sort of really flowed from there. So it was just felt right from the start, and just went well. And she was just ticked all the boxes that suited for me. And as I'd find out now, and a lot of conversations that I would never have had otherwise, was that she had said, "No, I'm all in on this. This is the one," which was really, really amazing to hear. And then we got engaged in Europe in 2015, married in 2016, and unfortunately, she passed away in 2019. But between 2013 and then, we just jammed so much into our lives, and that was her. She was an organizer of people, a connector of people, and just live, which was awesome. And just no nonsense, told you exactly what she was thinking. She was the person that people would go to reluctantly at times for that answer. To the degree that she even, when she was in the hospital, she'd even dished out some relationship advice to one of the younger nurses who was sort of 20, 21, bullied a nurse into renovating her house who was umming and ahhing about it. So just a live wire, and just a great person.
Great. And how long was it from Emily's diagnosis to her passing?
It was 11 months. So she was diagnosed in the October of 2018, and then it just went full noise all the way through. Just life literally felt like the accelerator pedal was on the floor the whole time. It was complications after complications, and pretty hardcore stuff straight out of the blocks. It's sort of we thought she just had a bout of gastro or possibly appendicitis, and took her to the hospital one Monday morning at like 4 or 5 a.m. and she was just couldn't stop being ill. So, and it was just a bit of pure chance as well, that a doctor had sort of said, "No, this doesn't feel right. I want to do a scan and see what happens." And then it turned out she had a growth that turned out to be a tumor in her bowel, and it was just staggering to be sitting in that position, dealing with that. Like you just don't think it's going to happen to you. You see it in the movies, you hear about all the stories, but you just would never ever think it's going to be you. So it was pretty scary, but initially, you're always as hopeful and positive about it as anyone will be. And she had surgery to remove the tumour, and they took out about 30 centimetres of bowel as well. And bear in mind, this was for someone that had been as fit as a fiddle, literally was doing F45 a couple of months prior, and just no issues with that. Had changed their diet up a long time ago because there was some history in the family. So you just would never think it's going to happen. And then the surgery went really well. It felt positive. It felt good. And then they did all the scans, and we got the results back with that, and we were referred on to further doctors, onto an oncologist, and got the news that it was stage 4 metastatic bowel cancer. And something that we didn't share with everybody was that his wording was that it is about quality and quantity of life. That was the aim of the treatment. It wasn't, remission was not a word that was ever really used. But yeah, it was just sort of earth-shattering at that point. And then it rolled into, from there, it was pretty straight into it. You start the treatment, start chemo, and it had turned out that she had a mutation within her cancer that between 5 and 7% of bowel cancer patients get. So, as if we were unlucky enough, we, doubled down and got even unluckier, unfortunately. And we started that. Before we started the process of chemo, we didn't have kids at that stage. It was sort of something that was on the cards, and I was 33 and she was a slightly older woman. She would have been 40 this year, so she was, sorry, my maths is just, she was 38. Just turned 38 at the time, and it was just like, this doesn't happen. So we did a full hit of IVF in under 2 weeks, which was just pretty hardcore. And then she had which they did it, harvested it all, and then she had some complications with some deep vein thrombosis in an arm and then a neck, and it was just and that was sort of the start of the trips to hospital, apart from chemo, and it just seemed to be we were in hospital all the time. I think for the 11 months, I'd say we spent more time in hospital than we did out of it, which was pretty challenging, because she just wanted to be at home and I wanted her to be at home, but then we'd have issues that she wasn't well, and it was really hard because I didn't want her to go to hospital, but we had to. And we never fought over or had arguments. It was really, really lucky in that respect. I mean, we'd have robust debates or conversations, but not arguments. But the closest thing we came to arguing was about the fact that she said, it feels like you want to put me in hospital. I didn't want her to go, but I couldn't look after her. So, and that was pretty hard to shift from husband to virtually carer. And initially it wasn't too bad, but then it started to shift and really change. It was going okay, and then we got to March, and that's where it really shifted gear pretty badly. that was where it was, hang on, no, this isn't right. And we actually had to shift onto some medication that wasn't on the PBS. Sort of got through that, but it was, she wasn't getting better. The goal, we had the sort of this end goal that hopefully by May she'd be on the improve, but it just wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. Lots of hospital stays, lots of fevers, a couple of stays in ICU, which never thought I'd be. I honestly never thought I'd be sitting in intensive care unit with the person that you love, or visiting her there. You know, you think about 80, 90-year-olds in those sort of settings, but not young, fit people. So hours upon hours in emergency rooms, lots of time in hospital. Spent a wedding anniversary, spent a wedding anniversary in there. Managed to get her out for Christmas. She spent New Year's in there, so I was in there for a portion of it. Been back out. Trip to hospital on my birthday, which we didn't really share with people because we managed to get her home. But we knew we were kind of frequent flyers at the hospital when even the registrar was like, yes, you're going home. Yes, which is so awesome. But at the same time, you're sort of thinking this is a bit twisted and odd. So it was full noise there. We then sort of in May found out it wasn't just going to be a one-off treatment with the medication. So it was ongoing. So it was, okay, you're going to need to find more money. And Em's sister set up a GoFundMe page, which Em was reluctant to do. Just very proud and didn't want fuss and was private about her business. But we did it, and it was, again, people just were so generous, and it was just incredible. It came from people we knew. There were people that we had no idea who they were that just said, I've seen this, I've been in this situation, here's something to help. So it was quite touching, and it really, again, took some pressure off what was already a nightmare. And then during that period, she started to have a few more complications. She had a couple of fractures in her vertebrae that just occurred. And it was, it just got really hard. And we were lined up for treatment one day and actually had to get an ambulance for her because she just couldn't move. Like, it was pretty horrible stuff. And it just, she didn't falter, and I didn't falter with the fact that we wanted her to be well. Deep down, I knew what was going on because I'd done the research to find out what it was, and also I did the research so that if people had questions, I could try and help. And once I found out what was that stuff, I said, do not look up what's going on online. It's not going to be beneficial to anybody else. You just be positive for her and give her that. I'll deal with it. And I became a sort of the communication point for medical stuff. I said, just talk to her about normal stuff. Don't harass her about cancer.
Did the doctors give you and Emily a time frame, like a realistic?
No. Okay. No, they didn't give us a time frame, and I'm glad they didn't.
Okay.
Because the research into it's shit. Like it's she was at the far end of the life span, so she got a lot of time out of it based on the stuff I read. Like, she should have potentially been gone a lot sooner, which I'm glad that she wasn't that. And I worked virtually the whole way through. A couple of weeks off here or there. Worked in a sales job that required to keep money in the door. But on the flip side, it was actually a good anchor. And a dose of normalcy, going to work for a period of time, and then either going home or when she was well, go home when she was in the hospital. But it was just this cycle of get up, maybe go to the hospital, or depending what time was, how she was, go to work, leave work early in the afternoon, go to the hospital until end of day, until I wasn't allowed there anymore, go home. And that was basically it
Life,
every
yeah.
day, life.
Yeah.
And then you get her out, it'd be the same thing but at home. But thankfully she was home. So it was a good thing. And then it shifted to so some of the care stuff was hard because it's the stuff that people didn't see, that and not everybody knew that, it was. I never thought I'd be helping her get her to bed, but I don't mean just sort of help her get to bed. I mean literally lifting her legs into bed,
Right.
tucking her in, making sure all this stuff, hot water bottle, a knee pillow because of weight loss. Like I never thought I'd be doing that sort of stuff. Or a couple
Yeah.
of times had to help her get up off the toilet, helping her get up off the couch, or helping her to put clothes on at times. I just it's that stuff that no one saw that I think
No.
over time, and I think you're just in autopilot, so you're just going, and the
And so do you feel
adrenaline's
like
going.
watching Emily's decline is another part of the trauma
Yeah,
associated with the grief as well that you are dealing with? And
it really is, because I saw it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So we might have seen early on, we'd catch up with people and they'd say, gee, she looks good, she looks awesome. And she did.
yeah.
But I'd see the aftermath
Yeah,
and I'd
that's
see the beforehand, that
Yeah.
if we had lunch at 2 o'clock, she'd started to get ready really early. Not because need to do all that, it just took time. And then
Yes.
after lunch, she'd fall asleep on the car ride home.
Yeah.
And then all that sort of stuff. So it was hard to watch that change. And it was for a couple of people who didn't see her a lot, and that was a lot of people. And that wasn't that she had problems with anybody. It was just her. She was a proud woman, but also she didn't want people to be to think of her as this sick, frail person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
then
when the end eventually came,
yeah,
did it come as a shock to you? Like suddenly she was gone, or
yes and no. It was basically, so it was September 21st at about 1 a.m. is when she passed away.
and were you there?
I was there. I was there. The 12th had been her birthday, so just after her 39th birthday. So we had her 39th birthday in the hospital, which possibly one of the better birthday, believe it or not, was an amazing birthday. It was, the nurses loved her, so she got spoilt through the day. I think she had 3 cakes. I'd bought stuff. One of the nurses decorated her room with balloons, and it was really, really nice.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that day, palliative care came to visit as well, which when that's starting to happen, it's not a good thing.
Right.
You deep down sort of knowing this isn't going well.
Yeah.
And that was the Thursday or the Friday. That Sunday, she wasn't right, and I knew she wasn't right, but she'd been not right and bounced back.
Yeah.
But I got a message from her. She'd sent me home, said, you need to go home and rest. It's Sunday, just go home, switch off, have a drink, whatever. But I got a message from her later, and it was a nice message. But at the end of it, she said, to be honest, Alex, I'm sick, very sick. And it was the fact that she used my name in a message was the bit that got me. So I was sort of, shit, this isn't good. So that the next day I was gone from work until further notice. I was in there in the morning, left work straight to the hospital, or went home, got changed straight. Oh no, actually went straight to the hospital, and then spent most of the days that week, but didn't know it was going to be how it played out. Then the Wednesday she wasn't well, and I didn't feel good. I went home that night and I didn't sleep at all. Like I couldn't sleep. I got a message in the morning really early, because the wonderful oncologist, who was fantastic, but he did his rounds at like, he was either really early or really late, and his really early is like 6 a.m. So I got a message saying that he wants to see me. And once we got that, I was like, this isn't good. So I was at the hospital on the Thursday at 7. And then I didn't leave until basically I got told to go, family and friends, that you have to go home. And it was about 3 o'clock on the Saturday. And I reckon for the majority of that time, I didn't sleep. So it was sort of this deterioration that was happening across the Thursday. And once we'd spoken to the doctors, it was the difficulty of ringing friends and family and having to tell them what's going on. So it was starting to tee up time for people to come in and see her, and had everyone teed up across the Saturday and the Sunday to see her.
Yeah.
Got a family in on the Friday, and then she was sort of with it, but not, because she's pretty heavily medicated for the pain, and it wasn't very particularly nice, and long days, and because of the state that she was in, there's a lot of conversations that never took place that would have that you didn't get to have. To a small point, but not some serious heavy stuff. And I attempted to have a conversation about some stuff, but she was just too medicated and just tired. So I thought, pardon me, but fuck it, who cares? I'd rather worry about be happy and as happy as we can be. And and she, was sort of nodded in and out of sleep until midnight. Or 12:30, she sort of woke up, but it was actually her sister's birthday on the 20th. So she held on till after her sister's birthday, because she kept waking up during the day and asking what time it was and this sort of thing, which was, I didn't tweet to that till later. And then, she sat up. She wanted to get up and go for a walk. I don't know why or what, and she couldn't get up. And so I just said, we can't get you up. You're all right. Just sit here. She said, okay. Lay back, and she wasn't comfortable. She asked me to get her pillows comfortable and got them comfortable, and she just closed her eyes and went to sleep. And that was sort of the end, which was just, I didn't know quite what to do. And then just because I needed to get a hold of people, no one would answer their phone.
Of course, right when you need them to.
So I think I spent an hour trying to get a hold of people, and then eventually got, don't know quite why or what the thought process was. I just said, do you want to come in? And it ended up that we had some family, and we had 15 or 20 friends, and her room was near a lounge, and it was just nice. Everyone was together, supporting each other, and it worked well. It would have been what she wanted. So, and then I got sent home, and some other friends came around, and eventually they said, "You're going to bed. Off you go," and they left. And then, so it was a pretty rough, horrible time.
So, lockdown 2020 happened. So you lost Emily September, and then I think March, April, COVID became really serious.
End of March is when it started to kick in.
What was that like? Like, I can't. The first year is tough, and I can't imagine being in lockdown alone with my thoughts in that first year.
The language I'd like to use, not appropriate. Just because that's what it was. It was horrid. I was in a role that was still deemed an essential service. So we were still open, but we were a skeleton staff. So we went from having 20 plus, call it, in my sort of area, 20 people in there, or on site, 60 odd people, to on one side 20, and in my area 5. So, and just stopped. Nothing really going on. So you'd spend your day at work, not doing a lot. trying not to go mad, trying to figure out stuff to do, and then eventually you run out of stuff to do, and then knock off for the day. And no one wanted to still be there at the end of the day. No, we used to have a beer after work. There was none of that. You couldn't go anywhere. You really didn't feel right about having a drink at work.
Yeah.
Just because of all the rules. And you go home and come home to an empty house.
Were you in the home that you shared with Emily?
Yeah, and I still am.
Yeah, yeah. And what is that? What was that like? Did you change things right away, or?
No. I didn't touch stuff till the April of this year, and
was it comforting being in the space that you shared?
Yeah. There is some comfort in there. There's mixed. It is mixed. There's some comfort. There's some pain. There's a bit of hurt. There's some sadness. There's lots of stuff there. But to the degree that I hadn't touched her bedside table since I took her to hospital for the last time, and that was August.
Her bedside table.
Bedside table. So there was literally a plastic cup there that had water in it that had a straw that had evaporated by that stage, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Her medications, which we had in the house, the stuff from the hospital, the bags were just dumped. There was some stuff in the lounge room. It was just, there was some. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to know about it. It was just, I just wanted to get on. I wanted to get on with life, but I didn't know what to do with that. Or I was just throwing myself into life into so many areas that I think it was a good thing, but it was also a distraction.
Your time spent at home, during the lockdown, did you seek distractions with, I don't know, TV or alcohol, or did you feel your feelings? Or
so it was. The first one was alcohol, because we've had a couple, just to make it really interesting. The first one was alcohol, TV. I did start to deal with stuff around the house in the April. And I started small with the bathroom, just because there was stuff there that really meant nothing. It was disposable items. And in some cases, beauty stuff, and I know talking to some people, it's right there. But because she'd had to change so much of shampoos and bits and pieces because she wasn't well, all that stuff meant it was just bad, and it didn't mean anything. So it was easy to get rid of. So I sat down in the bathroom one night after work, with a couple of beers, put some music on, and started sorting through stuff. I got rid of it, and I thought, no, I can do this. This is a good step. And I felt good for it. That was sort of the Thursday night. And then I decided on the Sunday I was going to attempt her bedside table, which was full on.
It's more personal.
Yeah. And finding stuff, finding photos, finding birthday cards that I'd given her, or it was pretty tough. Pretty tough's not the right word. I spent most of that Sunday in tears, just going through it. Again, put some music on and just tried to do it. But then I got through it and I sort of got on a roll with it. And I ended up doing the whole bedroom, except for the walk-in wardrobe. I couldn't deal with that. But I put her clothes out of the drawers into the big bags you'd move house with. So I've still got it all, but I've just sort of removed it from line of sight.
Yes, yeah.
Shifted her, because I still had all her birthday presents sitting there, shifted them out. And then just as I was going through the day, just doing bits and pieces, and I was sitting there, it's like, I don't know why, I decided I'm going to replace the mattress topper, which doesn't sound like a big thing, but it's to anybody that's been there through it, probably
Yeah.
a little bit further down, or someone that sees, I might go, what does that mean? It's you're taking part of them away.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a really positive thing. I'm glad I did it, because it was, again, because she'd been sick in that bed, it took something away and brought just a clear space for it.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
bought a new pillow, and I actually changed the side of the bed that I slept on.
I did that
I
too.
shifted to her side of the bed
Yeah.
for what I couldn't tell you why, but I did it.
Yeah. See, for
And I
me,
thought
I
this is
wanted
even,
to be as close to him as what I
yeah,
could. So sleeping on
yeah,
his side felt like I
yeah,
was closer to him in a way. And now that is my side.
yeah. It's my side too.
Yeah.
A-
It's,
And I thought this is either going to go really well, I'm going to get a really good night's sleep, or this is going to be horrific. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to be up all night in tears. It's going to be a disaster. Thankfully, I got a reasonable night's sleep, but I think that was because I'd spent the day just such an emotional dump. So it
yeah.
was sort of did that, and then got on a roll through doing more and more around the house. And I actually did a lot in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I did so much in the house,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I did it. Probably could have picked a better time to be able to go and decompress because of lockdown. Usually you might have done that on the Sunday and then you go, I'm going to people's house, I'm going to be around
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
did it? No, you're in it.
Yeah.
You might talk to someone on the phone, but it's not the same. So
Mm.
I did all that and I was really glad that I did it, but it
Mm.
was pretty full on, and it was, yeah, relentless.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, and it just crossed my mind today because it was my end of school breakup, the school I work at, and it's a religious school, so we have a
Mm,
Eucharist, and part of the priest's gospel and
yep.
everything was about how difficult 2020 has been for everyone, and we've all been through so much, and it's been so hard, and I thought of you because I knew we were doing our interview today. And I was like, God, when in 2011, when, that was 2011, 2012 was my first year of widowhood.
Mm,
And it wasn't a global pandemic.
no.
Everyone wasn't having such a terrible year. So people, friends, family were able to be there for me.
Mm,
Did 2020 being the garbage fire that it's been,
yeah.
did that mean that some people couldn't
Yeah.
really be there for you? I mean, I know
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
know any different, but
No, it really was. That first lockdown was really challenging because I think it threw everyone for such a loop.
yeah,
And it really just messed with everybody's head so much. And everyone was just so focused on getting by in their own space that
mm,
you didn't you weren't forgotten, but
mm,
you kind of were.
right,
Um, in a sense that, and I spoke to I saw some people afterwards, like, we're so sorry. I said, it's all right. Everyone's got stuff going on, but it was just because it was so hardcore and so everybody required so much of their own strength to do stuff. Like
yeah,
you might talk to them here or there, but it really, they didn't get it. And I don't think I'd got
yeah,
it either as to how it was affecting me.
yeah,
That it was really, really affecting me quite badly. Um, and I was, to some degree, putting on the brave face. I just kept going because I thought I just have to keep going. I don't
mm.
have a choice but to keep going here. I've just got to keep going, keep going, keep going. And
Did you feel
probably,
this pressure to look after other people and
yeah,
not give them anything more to worry about
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
not burden them with your
I'm a
feelings?
little bit that way by nature, that I want to
Right.
make sure everyone's all right. But this was even worse because I felt bad that if I got upset, it upset other people, or they saw this, or they knew this. Like, it's how do you tell people that you've spent a night lying on the floor of your bedroom in tears? How do you do that? It's a pretty full on thing to say to someone. It's
And
gonna mess with them.
And sometimes I
And
think people don't understand that it can literally be the whole night. Like they think
oh
that
yeah,
it's, oh yeah, you cried
no,
for a bit. It's
no,
like,
no,
no,
no.
like I couldn't
No,
sleep.
no,
I just was in pain.
I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And also, bit of the stigma that's still around is big bloke. You do share, but you don't.
Yeah.
Some stuff you don't necessarily need to share that because it'll be, or you might be too much for people. What you're going through might be too much and might be frightening for them, which again, it's just all your stuff. And unfortunately, it caught up with me really badly.
Yeah. You mentioned
In
that
June.
in June you hit the wall. So
Yeah,
can you tell us about that?
I was running on fumes anyway, and I think by that stage all affairs had been settled. Um,
All of
Everything was done.
Emily's
All of
affairs?
Emily's
Yeah.
affairs were settled. I'd
Yeah.
got everything sorted. It was done.
Okay.
And it was that now what moment.
Right.
And I didn't have any plans for the future. I didn't know what I was doing. It's sort of treading water, but it was also going through lockdown and just hanging on. And I had was doing it hard and then had a moment at work that just triggered me. And it's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault. It was just,
It's
you
just
can
the
have a
straw.
moment. It was just a straw. And
Yeah.
I was done. I've been struggling anyway, but I don't think I
When you say you
realised
were done, like what
I'd had
is
enough of the world.
okay.
I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do life
Life?
anymore.
Right.
Life. I was at that point of option A or option B. And option
So
B,
you were
option A is
suicidal. Yeah.
yeah. I was at the point of I didn't have a plan to do anything or how I was going to do it or anything like that, but I just didn't want to do it anymore.
You had enough.
And it's one of those things that, and some of this stuff isn't stuff that I made public to lots of people, but I'd written a note to friends and family, and it was a bit of like it's gone and been now, but it
Yeah.
was, when you're at that point, it's pretty scary stuff. And
Yeah.
I just couldn't make decisions anymore. And I had a friend who's an AMBO that night actually rang me when I was driving home because we were supposed to talk. And she got me around to her place. And as much as looking after me as a friend, she went AMBO on me and did sort of an evaluation. And she's like, no, it was almost intervention. And she said, you've just done so much for so long. You can't, I couldn't make basic decisions anymore. I'd made so many big decisions for so long that it was beyond me. And then I went into work the next morning and said, I've got to go and get help. Some people are intervening. I'm not doing well. I need to go and sort myself out. And I spent probably 90% of that day in tears, sort of in and out of tears.
Yeah.
And I couldn't talk to people. She spoke to a small group of people to sort of put a support network in place.
Yeah.
And it was pretty scary stuff. And it's one of those things, until you hear it from somebody else that this person's not good. Like a really close friend, I was talking to him and he thought, yeah, you're right. And then she spoke to him. He's gone, oh shit, hang on. So it really was at that end of, it was at the end of the tether. It wasn't suicide attempt, but possibly if it had gone longer, it could have been.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't far off that, but it was at the point, there was no attempt, but it was at the point of I can't do this anymore. I've lost everything. I don't want to do this anymore. It's just, life's too hard. So I ended up moving in to some friends' place.
Right.
And that was part friends, part doctors say you're not to be on your own. So I literally was with them. I was with someone almost 24/7. Obviously they're asleep or I'm asleep, but still in the house. But it was around people all the time.
Yeah.
And to the degree that I'd psychologist, doctor, and worked for Victoria Police, and they were phenomenal with the support. Like, did stuff with their psychs over the phone. They set up, gave me numbers to call, 24-hour assistance, all this sort of stuff. But to the degree that we set up a safety word for me, that, or a phrase that, because it's hard to articulate, I'm not doing good. So it was basically, we set up that I don't feel safe. And if I said that, everyone knew, hang on, not good. Which worked well. And I only said it a couple of times, but it was, I was just broken. I didn't drive a car for nearly 3 weeks. I spoke, but only to a few people, and I didn't know. Only a few, like this little network I set up with the only people I was really speaking to, because I didn't know what to say to other people. To the degree, like I went back, got it. The people I was living with, he's involved in the rugby club I've been involved with for years. He took me down there to training, just to be out of the house and be around people I've known forever, or an environment I've known all my life, all my adult life. Sorry, I couldn't speak, so it was pretty hardcore. And then I stayed with them until August, and then came home and finished off the lockdown at home by myself.
Okay.
Which, by that stage, I was in a better place. But
so people were okay, like your family, friends were felt you were ready.
They were sort of, you need anything, you ring. We had some fail safes, but I thought, I've got to kind of want to and need to try and just take steps forward. And it was a really close friend of both mine and Em's, who we lived together. I think what she said, we've lost one person already to cancer. We don't need to lose another.
Yeah.
That was the, sorry.
No, not at all. No need to apologise.
That was the catalyst to go, no.
Yeah.
But, and also I think Em would have been pissed if I saw her now.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd been too happy with me as well. So it was, little things that people did were huge. And whether it's, I overdid life as well, possibly early on, like I didn't face stuff or tried to hide. I don't know, but now I'm doing this, which sort of says I'm in a much better place than I was, and we're able to do this and speak comfortably about it.
And I think it's so important that you are doing this and being candid about what you went through and the trauma of it, because that you're the only the second widower that has done an interview like this, and we know you guys are out there, but it's, for some reason, it's just so hard for men to speak about their pain.
And part of the reason I sort of put my hand up to do it was, I've got a friend that's really heavily involved. He's a former footy player. He uses his personality to help with Beyond Blue. I've got a relative that's suffering from PTSD, but he's sort of helped and inspired me to sort of push myself a bit further with this. So it's, apart from helping the widows, it's also about the mental health. And if it's men, women, I don't care. If it helps someone, it's the best thing in the world. Even if it's one person, I don't care. But if it, it's okay to be broken. I think you go to that place and you'll go down, get to here, and you should bounce back up. I kind of hit here and thought, no, I'll just dig my head into the ground for a while and need to get dragged out, and then I can start to go back up again. But it was, the lockdown was good and bad.
Okay.
It was horrible, but good because I stopped. There were no distractions. There was nothing. You didn't have an alternative but to deal with stuff.
Right.
And again, I could have made the decision not to face stuff, but I thought, what's the point? Let's take it as it comes. And it's not been easy. I've had days where I've not wanted to get off the couch. I've had nights where I've just been in hysterics. I've been on the shower floor. I've sat I get leant against the kitchen bench, just, tears
I know
randomly
all the
dry.
places that we
Yeah,
go to cry in
it's
those moments.
you'll hear a song and it'll just off you go.
Yeah.
You're gone. It's on the phone to someone. I'm just cooked. It's watching a random movie.
Yeah.
It's just everything. It's just bizarre, but in a good way at the same time.
How has grief changed you? Sure, it has. How has it changed you?
On lots of ways. It's my perspective on everything's different.
Mm.
I look at stuff and go, really, is this an issue? Like little stuff that people lose their mind over. You go, really? Is it that bad? Is anybody hurt? No. Can we fix it? Yes. Is it going to cost us a lot of money? No. Then who cares? Let's just get on with it. My tolerance for bullshit, I never really had a good one anyway, but it's completely gone. And even just people that are shit too. Like if you might overlook stuff with certain people because of X, Y, Z. I can't overlook that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And you just want to see people be happy. That's one of the biggest things is I don't like seeing unhappy people because life's too short. Life is genuinely too short, and it's having lived that existence. It's just sort of said, well, life's too short to waste it.
Yeah.
And I think I threw myself into life really early on this year with dating and some mixed experiences. I had someone this was January, I had someone say, "Oh, is it too soon? You're dating so soon?" I kind of wanted to.
Is that someone you were dating or a friend?
No, I went on a date.
Okay.
And that was one of the things she said to me on that first date.
Good start.
This is not going to go well, but that's just people's perspective. And a couple of mixed experiences. And then I had a really good experience that hasn't panned out how I would have wanted it to. But, she was amazing, incredible person that's probably done more for me than she'll can ever quite comprehend, that allowed me to feel stuff I didn't know that I'd ever be able to feel again. Made me feel wanted, made me feel really a lot of good things, and just opened my mind up again to that sort of stuff, which was really good. Now I'm not really worrying about any of that because I need to get myself right, so that it's inevitable. I'm 35. I'm going to end up at some stage with a new partner down the track and whatever life throws at me, but I need to be the best version of me. Yeah. And that's sort of where I am now, and in doing this is part of that as well. That it's therapy for me, but it might help somebody else.
Yeah.
Particularly, I hope it helps guys of any age. And I've found, I'm sure there's lots of people that are young like me, but at 34 you're widowed, and this, I really don't find a lot of people.
No.
And that's been hard as well, because you're really a statistical anomaly.
Yeah.
And getting your head around that's hard as well, that everybody else is doing life and he's doing different stage of life. I've done basically lived a whole life in a short period of time.
Yeah.
But I've still got my whole life ahead of me, if that makes sense.
But do you feel like you're older than 34?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
I some of this time was I didn't recognise myself in the mirror. I just couldn't fathom what was going on, and I felt like I was 50, 55.
Yeah, I've felt like that for the past 9 years.
And it's only recently I've sort of been able to go back and go, no, hang on, you're still 35. You've got so much time on your side. It's so much
Yeah.
ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
But mentally, I do think of things differently. Like I just possibly early on was rushing, just trying to rush because I'm thinking, shit, I've got to do this. I've got to get through this. I've got to do this. Got to. But then it stopped.
Like
No,
rush,
you
do you
don't
mean
have to.
rushing with the going into dating or
Dating, work, life,
getting through things right? Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
You've just got to get going because you're not young, but then it's no, you are. You're still really, really young. So having reset, that's been a positive, a
Good.
really, really positive thing. It's taken time, but
Yeah.
starting to realise that, and I've ended up leaving my job because it's not for me anymore, and I've got time on my side to try and figure out what I'm going to do next.
Good.
God knows what that is, but it's it's life. Everything's life altering. That
Yeah.
unfortunately, widowhood comes, and I don't. I only so often do I throw the widow word around because it's not that there's a negative. I don't see it as a negative, but to some people, they get funny with it.
Jarring. It's
It's
jarring for
jarring.
people that are
Jarring.
not widowed. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, they and without being funny, being 34, 35 and going, yeah, I'm a widower. There's something about that just doesn't feel right.
Oh man,
Even
I
though
was
it's a
26,
fact.
so
Yeah, you're at the other end of the scale. That's just
baby one. Yeah, no, it's
how do you say to someone, oh, your previous, and this is that thing, oh, what's your story, or this, you've been married? Yeah, I was. They passed away. It's just, it's a head. It's a
hard,
head
like,
nick for everyone.
because there's time. Yeah, like people. Someone just asked me the other day, fellow, I'm trying to build me a fence. And I could tell, he's trying to talk to me about what the things I could do to cost cut and everything like that. And he's like, you got a fella, you got a husband I can talk to about this. And, and I was like, sometimes it feels like saying no hurts me. And it makes me feel sad because, James is an important part of my story, just like Emily's an important part of your life story. And I feel like I'm selling that short. But then, sometimes when you say that, oh no, they're dead, it just shifts the conversation and that's uncomfortable too.
I found that really hard going anywhere, like talking, like I'd go to just a shop and you'd find a conversation about clothing or something or other, and your wife or this, and you go, I quite often still now I just sort of say, how'd you find out about this or that? I just say my wife because I can't be bothered. It's too much to it. But I even had an instance that went to a shop with some friends, and the lady knew my wife but hadn't seen her for a long time, and we were sort of caught up, and I didn't know her from a bar of soap, but they're in there buying some stuff, and she's just sort of jogged back, oh, your blonde friend, to my other friend that was there, how's she going? And I was standing there just going, fuck.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, doesn't matter where you go, it pops up. It's shit and it hurts, but it's never gonna go away. But I also started to look at the fact that the outpourings of tears, the outpourings of that, and I came across this somewhere, I don't know where, but it's not just sadness, it's the love that you still have for them that needs to come out somewhere. So starting to do that made life easier, so that who gives a shit if you want to burst into tears, burst into tears. Christmas last year, wandering around a shopping centre buying Christmas presents, trying not to burst into tears.
Yeah.
That's not the most fun experience. I wouldn't recommend doing that on your own. For any widows or widowers out there, go with someone because it's it's pretty taxing and harrowing because you're
It's
wandering
awful.
around looking at couples and families, and all you're thinking is
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just joyous and happy. But um, yeah, it's just we're all in a place that no one ever thought they would be or should be, really,
That's exactly right.
until they're old. That's
So
the
my final
reality.
question for you,
Yep.
Alex, is do you have any advice or any kind of words of wisdom for other widowers out there?
Um, I'm not an expert, far be it from being an expert, but I'd say it's okay. I know that sounds simple, but it's okay. It's okay to use cliches because I found like people throw cliches around. I actually find I'm living them. And most widowers, like the cliches that are out there, they're just life experiences, and they're a cliche until you've lived it.
Like what
It's
cliches? Like give me an example.
um
Just take it
oh
one day at a time, or
yeah.
yeah,
And guess what? It's okay to
yeah,
take it one day at a time. It's okay to not want to get out of bed. It's okay
yeah,
to be upset. It's okay to not want to talk to people, to want to be away from people. It's okay to be desperately want to be near people. It's okay to date people.
yep,
It's the people aren't going to judge you. They're just going to want you to be happy. And I got into my own head, and I was more worried about what people thought. Everyone else thought were just happy that you looked happy. I was more worried about it. It's okay to do that. It's okay if you don't want to touch anything in the house. It's okay
yep.
until you're ready. It's
It's
okay
whatever
not to want to throw
what's right
stuff.
for you. Yeah,
It's do what's right for you. Seek the help. Is the other big thing is so find a psychologist that works. If you don't like the first one, go to another one. Keep going until you find someone that connects, because
yeah,
I've been seeing one since November last year, doing the right thing, and I still fell apart.
right.
So
Yeah,
doing that is awesome. There's support groups. That's been amazing.
good.
Um, just it's okay not to be right. It's okay to be right. It's okay to do whatever you want, because the people that matter will support you as long as you're not
Mm,
hurting yourself. They're just going to
mm,
want you to be happy,
yeah,
and that's the biggest thing. It's reach out to people.
yeah,
I joined a support group, and I gave my number out to a few of them early on and said, just my phone's always on. I don't care. Like,
yeah.
we're all going through stuff, but if someone watches this and says and wants to message me, what, go for it.
Great.
Go for your life. I'm not an expert. Probably have no idea what I'm doing half the time, but
Yeah.
if I can
You're on
help,
our members forum, so I
yeah,
can drop
if
you
you
a
want to
line there.
talk,
Yeah,
if you want to talk, I'll talk. If you just want to say, hey, thanks, whatever, it's reach out to people, do the right thing. And that's coming from someone that didn't know how to do it and wasn't capable of doing it. And now I've realized how important that is, that if you're not okay, pick up the phone or text someone,
yeah,
because it's for all of us that have lost someone. You don't, the families and friends don't need to lose somebody else if you get to that point. And
yeah.
that's, you're not being selfish. You're just dealing with heavy shit that no one should be dealing with, and it
That's
can take
exactly
its
right.
toll. So if you get to that point, who cares?
Yeah,
Just know that, but also know that someone's going to be upset if you're not there.
exactly. Reach out and
Yeah,
accept the help. Exactly. Reach out and
yeah.
accept the help.
Even if you feel it,
I think it's wonderful that that friend, that your AMBO friend, that recognized,
yeah,
no, because it could have,
yeah.
who
Oh,
knows,
it
it
could have
could have
been. It
gone
was.
very
I
badly.
don't know, but I was in a bad way that night, and it could have gone the wrong way.
Yeah,
And thankfully it didn't. And there were days early through June, and that were still, I wasn't sure, but now it's no, I'm not going that way.
right.
It's not a coward's way. It's not anything like that. It is,
No.
you have had enough of life.
Mm,
It is, life's too much. But just tell someone I'm struggling. And if they've got an issue with it, they're probably not a good friend.
No, they're not the right one to lean on. And I think that's the thing that, you know, I found confronting some of the people that I thought would be the ones that I would lean on were not capable. And in many ways, I was surprised by the people that were there no matter what, no matter how ugly it got.
I've got a friend of 15 years that's just wiped me.
Yeah. Oh, that happens. Yeah.
But guess what? That's their loss. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I can look at the mirror and say, I'm happy with my life. They're going to have to look at the mirror one day and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
I think because grief does change us so much. They don't necessarily like the person that we've turned into, or they're grieving the friend that they've lost.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's hard.
And I think lots of people don't know how to take widows or widowers because it's so, you've lived the rawest stuff and dealt with the rawest stuff you can. You'll be blunt. You're not afraid about talking. You're generally probably not afraid to talk about heavy, horrible stuff. And not everyone's that way.
No,
it's scary. Scary to be honest. It's scary to face stuff. It's scary to put your hand up and say, I probably got in my own way and wasn't ready for stuff to happen, and that's why things didn't work out, or I got in my own way, got into my own head and didn't reach out when I probably should have earlier. It's it's not easy to do that. It's not like I woke up and said I could do this one day. I've just been locked in the house for the better part of 6 months and sort of trying to get better. I'm still, work in progress. I think I always will be, but a better version of where I was a while ago.
Yeah.
It's probably, it's just anybody that's watching, all the widowers, new or old or whatever, just be you. It doesn't matter what other people think. It's because they've not done it. They haven't had to live in your shoes.
That's it. And I think sometimes too, what we've been through and what we live with is a reality that no one wants to imagine.
It's a reality that you struggle to realize when you're in it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think for some people it's just too much, so it's easy for them to avoid, being witness to it. But look, we are tremendously grateful that you've shared your story with us, and I hope that we can chat again in the future and touch base and see how you're traveling.
Progress.
But no, I'm really glad to hear that that you've got a hopeful outlook and you see a future for yourself and so thank you, Alex.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Please check out our website, firstlight.org.au. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Membership in our association, community membership, is free and will give you access to our Facebook members forum where you can reach out to members of our community, reach out to Alex. You don't have to do Widowhood alone. There's a community of support out there. Just take the step. So thanks, Alex. Cheers.
Pleasure. Cheers.
And I hope that end of lockdown remains, and I hope it's a Merry Christmas.
It's going in the right direction.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you.